there's one thing we can all agree on. Warrior cats can be pretty creepy at times. From Firestar's Bonehill vision, to Hawkfrost's death, to even more recent ones like Rootspring being haunted by eyeless spirits screaming in agony. What the hell? There are plenty of scenes in the series that if animated would be just as infamous as those in Felidae or Watership Down. It's no wonder then that so many Warrior Cats creators are horror fans, and well, I am one of them. I always really loved the more horror-esque takes on the universe of the books, so it's no surprise that I had my own ideas on how to incorporate more fear into them, specifically with the Place of No Stars. If you've seen a single Featherkid video, you probably know what I'm talking about. For the longest time, I had a headcanon that after a cat goes to the dark forest, it starts turning more and more monstrous, with its appearance often reflecting its past, personality, or even name. Despite really wanting to, I never fully designed any canon characters in those forms. However, since Halloween is coming up, I thought it was a good idea to finally change that. In this video, I'm gonna pick 3 Dark Forest residents and turn them into horrifying monsters, as well as walk you through my process of designing them. However, just before we start, I wanted to say that if you really like this video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. I'm not a large channel and this video is very much a passion project of mine, so every bit of engagement will mean a lot to me. Plus, if this gets enough traction, I will absolutely make a part 2. I even thought about making a sister video to this one where I turned not-so-holy Starkland cats into corrupted angels. But we'll see. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. Now, shall we begin? The first character I decided to tackle was obviously Tigerstar. After all, he is the big bad of the series. My first step for all of these was to make a design I could base our monster off of. I didn't record drawing them because I didn't think they'd be important enough, but here he is. And now he's gone forever. Moving on to the actual drawing, I decided that instead of jumping straight into it, I should probably do at least one concept sketch beforehand. This way, I can see what sticks and what doesn't. Now, out of all of these designs, Tigerstar's was the most difficult for me to come up with. All because, honestly, he's a bit boring. He's just a guy who wants power and is willing to kill for it, just like hundreds and hundreds of other villains. I won't deny, he's quite an iconic character, and there are elements of him that if expanded could make him really interesting. But if you were to put him in a room with 100 other villains with the same motivation, he wouldn't have much to stand out with personality-wise. Fortunately, with some help, I was able to pick out some motifs I could use. I wanted to portray him as a scary, ruthless killer with sharp teeth and claws, as well as allude to the tiger part of his name. I thought maybe somehow linking him to a motif of a hunter would also be a cool idea. My friend Aster of the channel Increse, who helped me with the brainstorming process, suggested perhaps incorporating some king imagery, as well as having a tiger hide, and soon an idea sparked into my head. I don't know how, but somehow during all of this, I didn't think of incorporating the most iconic part of Tigerstar's character, his death. So, that's how the core idea behind this design came to be. After being gutted by Scourge, whatever was left of the ShadowCon leader came back for his pelt, and is now wearing it like a hunter wears the skin of an animal they caught. I mainly based the skinless Tigerstar design off of Hank from Hellraiser, as well as cat anatomy drawings. However, I wasn't really trying to make him 100% anatomically correct, so sorry for any mistakes I may have made. Finally, the first concept sketch was done, and though I was happy with the core idea, I still needed to work on the execution. I thought the pelt looked more silly than scary, especially with those hanging paws, and I wasn't sure why, but I just wasn't happy with the eyes. That's why I decided to change both of these things in the second sketch. Fun fact! This was at first supposed to be another concept sketch, but I ended up liking it so much I made it into the finished thing. As you can probably see, this one has a few small changes from the original that I think really ended up making a difference. I decided to remove the skin on Tiger Star's top jaw so I could highlight his mouth more, as well as have skin still be attached to his front legs to get rid of those silly hanging paws. The eyes ended up rather different too. From the beginning, I knew I wanted them to look dead, but only with this one did I go for the cross-eyed, empty gaze look he has going on. But there are also some elements I decided to leave as they were, one of them being the tooth crown going out of his head. I thought it was a nice touch, a crown representative of the ruler. The teeth at first were supposed to be cats, but I just ended up making them random ambiguous teeth. I should also probably talk about the eye teeth. Yeah, they honestly don't have any secret meaning or symbolism other than I thought they looked cool and I like eye trauma. It's gross and a morbid I can't look away for me. Because of this, I tried making the eyes irritated and bloodshot so it could seem more realistic, but I don't know. I feel like I could have done more. Here is where I would have put a short rant about the wasp scene from the movie Case 39 and why I think it's really bad and not scary at all, but I realized my viewers may not want to hear me rant about gross eye stuff, so I took it out. Comment below if you want to see it in the sequel. Jokes aside, Tiger Star is finished. I was honestly super proud of what I was able to do with his design. It gave me so much confidence for this video going forward. I think he looks awesome as hell, like a true fallen king. Now, on that note, we can move on to the next one. The second cat I chose for this challenge was Broken Star, a character I was really excited to design. The main reason I chose him out of all of these other villains is because of the way some parts of the fandom tend to portray him. A baby eater, a boogeyman, a scary tale mothers tell to their kittens when they don't behave. I can't remember if that was a part of his character in the books, but that doesn't matter right now. What is important is that it was the perfect blueprint for a monster design. However, I ended up really disliking this concept art. But let's go back to the beginning. Even before I started to make this video, I had some ideas for a body horror Broken Star design, one with deathberries growing out of his eyes. I definitely wanted to incorporate that into his final form, but I knew I needed something more. A few ideas were thrown around, having you around his body that acted like cordyceps mushrooms, adding more poisonous plants to the mix, and even having kittens come out of his back similarly to a Suriname frog. Don't look it up if you have trypophobia. I remember being really pumped for that last idea at first, but ultimately ended up scrapping it. You can still see some slight remnants of it in the sketch on the side. It was simply a bit too much and too difficult for me to nicely incorporate. Anyway, this concept art was based on the idea of Broken Star having large, deer-like branch antlers he would lure kids with, and very quickly into drawing, I realized I neither liked the sketch or the idea itself. So I kinda just rushed my way through this, hoping to come up with something better later. Honestly, making this video was just a bit shameful because it meant sharing all these rough concept sketches with the world, and that's the best example of it. I hate this sketch. To me, it doesn't even look like a cat, more like a weird ferret thing. But I realized it's still an important part of the drawing process we need to share. Beginners often get intimidated seeing all these beautifully rendered paintings or gorgeous character designs, and they should know that they didn't just puff into existence. Most of them started out with an unpolished, ugly 5-second concept doodle, and that's okay. In fact, if not for making of this, I wouldn't have come up with my final idea. If you looked at the references I was using for the previous drawing, you may have noticed a picture of an anglerfish. I didn't really use it much in that one, but after being so dissatisfied with it, I quickly doodled a more anglerfish like Broken Star on the side. And oh my god, I realized that's what I've been looking for. After all, the core idea of this art was a monster who lured in kittens and ate them, and what animal is more well known for luring its prey than the anglerfish? plus it's a pretty creepy looking sea critter, something a small child could definitely be afraid of. Ultimately, however, I ended up straying a bit farther from the anglerfish idea in favor of other fish, specifically the gulper eel and the sarcastic fridgehead. Another thing I decided to incorporate was to make Broken Star a bit larger than he was before, with a giant fat belly dragging itself on the ground. I wanted to make it seem as if he was just gorging himself on kittens, with a mouth so big he could swallow one whole. It was also supposed to be a presentation of his greed and how he sent all those children to die on the battlefield. Finally, the deathberries. They ended up being a way smaller part of this design than I originally planned. I just gave him some on the face to simulate weird little eyes, as well as a couple on the end of his tail as a lure. I thought maybe a curious child would be taken in by some pretty glowing berries and follow them out of their mother's reach, not knowing the horrors that await them. Overall, while designing him, I kinda put myself in the role of a nursery kid and thought what I would find scary if I stumbled upon a flesh-eating creature. Aster even suggested that his looks could have been attributed to children telling scary stories of his crimes and his appearance shifting with how they viewed him, which I just needed to mention because that's such a cool idea. He was also the one who suggested adding the stomach paw print, so if you find the idea of some poor kid drowning alive in stomach acid horrifying, thank him for that. And here's the finished product. Looking back on this art, I realized I didn't really like how gray the shading looks, but other than that, I love how he turned out. I'd like to think I did a good job with making him genuinely creepy. Now, he's ready to haunt the dreams of many poor kids to come. Finally, we come to the last character. Probably one of the most popular variants of the series, the woman of the hour herself, Mapleshade. Now, it's pretty obvious why I chose her for this video. She's incredibly popular, and honestly, I knew having her would bring in more people. As you probably know, I'm not the biggest fan of her, but not necessarily because of her character, more due to how some fans portray her. Now I know that's a sensitive topic to some, so instead of leaving a long Mapleshade related comment here, how about you leave it in the comments section of this trailer for Spy Kids 3D, Game Over. Anyway, brushing that aside, I still think she's a great villain and I wanted to portray this in her design. I made both Tiger Star and Broken Star very monstrous in their dark forest forms, but I didn't want to do that with Mapleshade, partially because the most perfect monster design for her already exists. It's from the Julia PMV by Reba Adventures, by the way. Another reason was that despite being murderous, she always struck me more as a manipulator. I don't think she would have gained Crooked Kid's trust if she looked like her previous Toms, so instead of making her into another killing machine, I chose to make her appearance a bit softer. Specifically, I wanted her to be a bit of a witch, the kind that would appear sweet and kind to a lonely child before dragging them back into their hut and blending them into their potion. But other than that, I had no idea what to do with this design while drawing. I had vague phrases and ideas of what it should be, like River Witch or a Scorned Woman, but not much when it comes to reference pictures. The only thing I knew that I wanted was for her to be soaked with water, representing the day she lost her kids. After that, I just did whatever felt right, like the leaves on her back that I later turned into reeds. Also, since she was a witch, I thought it would only be fair to give her a familiar, a raven. And that's pretty much it for the first concept. It was alright, but my main problem with it was that it was a bit lacking. I felt like there was so much more I could have added, and I wasn't sure where to start. But after some brainstorming and quick sketches I didn't record, I was ready to move on to the final drawing. To me, Mapleshade was the exact opposite of Tiger Star. With the Shadow Clan leader, I had to really think about what elements I could add into the design. Meanwhile, for her, there were just so many of them I was afraid of making it too crowded. We have the river, her free kids, her victims, which all have a bunch of symbolism on their own, and I'm not even taking into account the things she did after her death. Fortunately, I was able to pick and choose elements I was happy with. The idea I settled on ultimately was for Mapleshade to have a scary-looking side of her face that'd be covered by the leaves. This was meant to show that even though she may seem nice at first glance, she's actually just as much of a monster as the rest of the residents. I gave her a crazed-looking eye, a long teeth-filled maw, and a bald patch of skin that was supposed to be gray and flaky like the skin of a body decomposing in the water, but ultimately ended up looking more like a robot or a seal. Should have probably put more effort into that one. I also made sure to incorporate little elements relating to her victims into her design. The corvid familiar was supposed to allude to Ravenwing. I'd like to imagine it spies on the cats in the living world and then whispers to Mapleshade everything it has seen. Who knows? Maybe it's even Ravenwing himself, trapped in the body of a bird and forced to do this after her villainess dragged him down to hell. The viper teeth are of course for Frecklewish, don't have much to say about them, and finally, we have the reeds. While they are meant to represent Appledusk, a River Clan warrior, they're also much more than that. They're also here for Reedshine, the victim who got away, and just as they weigh on her back, so does Reedshine's family legacy that won't die no matter how much Mapleshade tries to kill it. Later on, I also realized reeds were the plants Ravenwing saw in his first vision, so they could also represent Mapleshade's downfall as a whole. I also wanted to add that in the second drawing, I based Maple's expression on Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians because that's honestly the first thing that popped into my head when I thought of a crazed expression. Now, I should probably address something. You may have noticed that the quality between these drawings has gone up quite a lot, and that's because I spent more and more time on each one of them the further we went along. The tiger star from the beginning was made in just 2 hours, under the impression that I won't put that much effort into these, and that this was supposed to be just a fun Halloween project. Anyway, this one took me 6 hours and I didn't even notice. Jesus Christ. Next time I really just need to put myself on a timer and give myself the same amount of time for each drawing so that this doesn't happen again. And so, Mapleshade is finished. This is definitely my favorite drawing of the bunch, but it also my least favorite design. I just think maybe it should have gotten another concept sketch so I could settle the design of the half face better. Still, despite this, I really like it. And there you have it. Tiger Star, Broken Star, and Mapleshade all drawn as monsters. Which one is your favorite? It's surprisingly not that often that I get to do these more horror-esque drawings, so that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming on this little art journey with me. I hope you enjoyed these designs as well as my commentary. To show that you're a true fan and got to the end, comment your home address below for a chance for me to come to your house and live inside your walls forever. Also, very sorry about the audio quality and editing. This video was supposed to come out on the 30th, but due to sudden circumstances I had to finish the recording and editing in just one afternoon. I am literally losing my voice as I am recording this. Once again, if you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to show me that you want more videos like this. My coffee and commission info are also in the description if you want to support me and my art directly. Once again, thank you and goodbye.